After looking at a few of the top edge rushers in this class, the next prospect we'll look at is Jordan Davis out of Georgia. If you don't know Davis, he's one of the single largest defenders I've seen in a long time. He's listed at 6'6" and he weighs around 340 pounds. Compare that to somebody like Vince Wilfork, who was 6'2" and weighed 325. Being this large certainly has its benefits. Davis is extremely strong and he has very long arms. He's one of the easiest nose tackle projections to the NFL I think I'll ever make. Before we fully look at him though, if you can do me a huge favor and like and subscribe to the channel, I'd greatly appreciate it. So anyways, Davis is one of the most well-known defensive linemen in all of college football. Not only did he play for Georgia's incredible defense, where pretty much every single player will likely end up in the NFL, he won multiple awards on his own. He was a unanimous All-American, he won the Outland Trophy for Best Offensive or Defensive Lineman, and he also won the Chuck Bednarik Award for Best Defensive Player in college too. The one thing you need to know about Davis is that he's a run defender first and foremost. This is the main thing he offers to his future NFL team. He's strong enough to dominate one-on-ones, and the leverage he creates, he pretty much always demands a double team. If you're going to run up the middle, you better bring two guys. You'll have a very difficult time attempting to move him on your own. Even when teams did bring two blockers, Davis showed the strength and length to commandeer both these players. This allowed the rest of his elite front seven to make plays, while he did the thankless job of holding down the middle of the defense. Like I said a moment ago, how he uses his length and strength is all really impressive. There's a ton of power behind his hands. You'll see him land his initial punch with quick hands off the snap, and you'll blow shoulder pads backwards in order to create leverage. If your team struggles defending the run up the middle, and I'm looking at teams like the Chargers or the Cowboys, Davis could immediately slide in as your nose tackle and clog up the offensive line. He also does a great job of using his length to keep his frame clean and then using his powerful hands to shed the block to make a tackle. He'll be really good against gap and inside zone run teams in the NFL. In terms of improvements for defending the run, the major thing I saw was that he needs to continue working on his balance. While he has the strength and length to take on any offensive lineman, he might lose his spot and get washed down the line of scrimmage simply by being too tall. This comes up a lot during double teams. Davis is a massive human being, so when you can get two blockers that work together to get underneath the center of gravity, his shoulders will turn. This will cause him to get pushed out of the way. Now, this didn't happen all the time, but it did happen enough. However, there were plenty of examples of how he stood up against two blocks and was even able to shed both of them to make a play on the running back. The other thing we need to talk about is how he defends stretch runs to the outside. I've seen other analysts claim that he has a hard time due to his lateral agility. While there were some poor plays in the middle of the season, I actually was impressed with his movement skills later on. For example, against Alabama, he did a good job of moving down the line of scrimmage. So, in my opinion, I think these concerns are a bit overblown. Now, as a pass rusher, this is my biggest area of concern. As of this moment, Davis isn't a good pass rusher. He did flash occasionally, and straight up those plays were pretty awesome, but the inconsistency was something that really bothered me. He would create a pressure on a bull rush that collapsed at guard or center into the pocket, and then there were even a few plays where he showed a surprising amount of quickness off of a rip move inside. However, those plays were few and far between. Effort and intensity was something that varied pretty drastically, especially as the game went on. You can tell while watching him that either he lacked the stamina to keep fighting, or he simply didn't care to keep driving his legs. Regardless of the true source of this issue, this is something he'll need to answer for in his interviews. Davis only played roughly 50% of the snaps at Georgia. He was pulled on a large percent of third downs, and he didn't play in pretty much any obvious passing situation. Now, part of the issue was simply his role in this defense. Some people will be quick to point out that he seems to be a bit late off the ball. This is actually by design. Davis is a two-gap player, so he's tackle reading as opposed to snap reading. What this means is that he's waiting for the blocker in front of him to move, and then he reacts based on that motion. This is in contrast to watching the ball to time his attack. There's nothing wrong with this, it's just very conservative. Davis is being coached to sacrifice speed off the snap in order to control his blocker. Since he mostly plays on first and second downs, he's two-gapping on these plays, and he needs to control the blockers in front of him. This is so other members of his defense can go and create plays. Remember, the Bulldogs were absolutely stacked with talent last season. They won the national championship because of their insane defense. They had guys like Trayvon Walker and Nakobe Dean in the front seven. Both will likely be first-round picks. I would much rather have a 340-pound Davis take on multiple blocks while allowing those other guys to make plays. While this may be the case, this scheme decision begs the obvious question. Can Davis prove to be a good pass rusher in the NFL? Your answer to this question will define his projection, and it'll define how high he'll go in the NFL draft. If he's just a two-down player and that's all you see, you can't take him in the first round. However, If you think he can get a lot better as a pass rusher and use his strength and occasional quickness off the snap to attack the quarterback, then a first-round pick is not out of the question. After watching 5 games from his 2021 season, I have him as a late first-round grade. I think Davis has a solid straight line burst. I think he's insanely strong to bully an offensive lineman in front of him. I think he'll instantly be an elite run defender at the next level, and I think he showed enough upside, albeit on limited snaps, to justify a late first-round pick. Now, to wrap this up and for his pro comparison, the player I'm going to use is Derrick Brown. Brown went in the top 10 a few seasons ago. I don't think Davis will go as high as Brown did, but they have some similar traits. They are both very physical and have the power to dominate their gaps. They also have strong hands to latch on and blow a blocker backwards. On top of this, both prospects have a lack of agility that makes them a bit upright in terms of how they attack the quarterback. Unlike some of my fellow analysts out there, I just can't justify a top 15 pick. The risk of him only being a run defender at the next level is too high, but hopefully he'll continue to improve on his stamina and improve at his pass rushing technique. Well, that's all I have for you in this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. In my next series of videos, we'll start looking at some of the top offensive linemen in the NFL draft. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and keep a lookout for those. Thanks again. You can support me directly via my Patreon in the link below. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Samuel R. Gold.